Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sander Lanch podcast. Today, we are continuing. This is our second episode of Oathbringer, Book 3 of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Get all that out there. In these... Oh, no, I didn't even say the chapters yet. I can't say in these chapters. We read chapters 4, 5, and 6, wherein Dalinar and Navani get married, and it's kind of a mixed bag out of that one with the reactions. And then the other two are about Kaladin finally making it back home after 3 books. Well, 2 books. This is the beginning of the 3rd book. But it's been a while since he's been home. And kind of some mixed results there, too. But I'm Data, and with me today is...
Jack, Joe,
and Jamie.
Yeah, we're all back for this second episode of Oathbringer. So... let's do this. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sander Lanch is about to begin.
Yearnings intertwined, the golden age in ashes once again. Under stirring stars, in the burning shards, kindle fragments of the falling rain. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn.
So yeah, 3 chapters this time. What did you guys think of these 3 chapters?
So Dalinar chapter seemed like pretty full on. Finally have the conversation with Navani. He's like, yeah, I don't remember my wife. Like literally nothing about her. You probably should know that if you're about to become my wife.
Yeah, he finally told somebody, right?
Yeah. So it's nice that like that's, if not out of the open, then at least out there a little bit. And then absolute baller move, just be like, none of the priests are going to marry us, so we'll just ask God to do it instead. And the priest is like, this is not cool, but I can't do jack or crap about it. So that was entertaining. Kaladin stuff, first chapter was really just seemed like kind of reintroducing Kaladin and Syl. I guess, you know, if you've been waiting between books, it's kind of been a while, sort of recapping. By the way, you killed me. I said I was sorry, not enough. And then, yeah, gets like it's just a lot of introspection, just sort of reintroduction to them, and then getting back was reintroducing his parents. Did end on kind of a nice note where, unfortunately, Rashon is still alive, but fortunately, Kaladin smacked him in the face, so that was nice. Can't imagine that's going to go down well, but oh well. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that bodes well, right? Well, then, and I'm sure you loved that he punctuates the punch with like, and that's for my friend Moash.
Yeah, well, what can you do? You can't win them all.
Fair, yeah, it's very true.
As much as I dislike Moash, it is, you know, I do have some sympathy for his situation, just not in the way he responded to it. And I've said multiple times, Rashon is the one who's really to blame in all this. So,
yep, Rashon is garbage. We know it.
Yeah, these chapters were, I can't say I was expecting a marriage this early in the book. Wedding scene was cool. Also, a little bit of foreshadowing of reactions to Dalinar in general, right? We've got basically they're like, yeah, dude, you're a complete blasphemer now, so that's not good. But I think, obviously Dalinar, well, not obviously. Dalinar's probably going to be vindicated in the end on that, but it's going to cause some issues for sure. How much issues? I'm not sure. I just don't see a big, like, religious, political fervor. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with the right words. I just don't think I would enjoy the story if a big conflict in it is that he's getting no support from the religious peoples. Like, I just don't care about that. It doesn't. The stakes are too high for that to be a thing that is at the forefront of the concerns, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like we got some high stakes going on. We don't. Why do we care about that? It's it is what it is. Hopefully we can kind of get through that, or if it becomes a part of the storyline, hopefully it doesn't take up too much of our time. The Kaladin stuff, it was nice to get to see him to come home, even though he's very worried. There's a lot of description about, which I found funny, about this guard that ends up finding him, and then he follows him into to the manor. I'm gonna guess that it's gonna end up being somebody he knew growing up, but like he's just talking a lot about how this guard kind of sucks and is shabby, which is funny. I don't know why, but I didn't think both his parents were going to be alive. I thought one of them was going to be dead. I thought his mom, for some reason, would have died, like from grief or whatever. So I was kind of surprised that they were both alive. I don't know why I thought that. It was just something I had in my head. I'm also wondering, like, which, we ended the chapter right when he punches Roshone, so maybe the information's about to be given out. But like, when was he going to be like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm like one of Dalinar Kholon's captains. Like, everything's cool. I'm cool. I'm not a deserter. I'm not like some random. I didn't just come back because I was scared. I came back because, I'm one of Dalinar Kholon's guys. So I was hoping that would get to. I was hoping we'd read that part this week, but not a big deal. I'm sure we'll get there. It would be weird for him to basically pretend like he's not while he's at home for some reason. I don't know why he would do that. But yeah, some really emotionally poignant moment there when he comes home finally and both his parents are there and he tells them, like, I'm sorry. I didn't protect my brother. And they're like, we don't care. We thought you were dead too. So, like, very poignant, emotional moment. Is interesting that they feel like they have to protect, like, their parents having to step up and protect him from Roshone. It'll be kind of interesting to see what their reaction is to him being like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm like a captain and, for lack of better word, King's Guard.
Yeah, it might be kind of hard to prove, honestly.
Yeah, but you know what won't be hard to prove? The fact that he is a Radiant. So
yeah,
there is that.
I mean, he didn't have any Stormlight right now, but he could
just fling out a shard blade and that would be enough, I think.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, enough to make people. Yeah, exactly.
Like, he could just be like, look, I got a shard blade now. Like, I'm cool. Don't worry about it.
I'm way more important than you now, I guess.
Yeah, I'm more important than Roshone. I'm more important than this whole town. Check out my sweatpants.
But it's interesting to me, the thing, what you said about like the religion thing, it would be weird to have that be a big obstacle for Dalinar. The church tries to stand in his way or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's clear, even from just this part, that if the church decides to stand in his way, he's not going to give a shit.
Yeah.
Just like they tried to stop him from marrying Navani.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, like, why even bring it up then?
Well, I was going to say, like, maybe he doesn't care what the church thinks. And who knows if they're powerful enough to, on their own, like, because we know the church was powerful at one point and almost tried to conquer the world. And that since then, like, the Ardents are now slaves. And I think the one guy even says in the chapter, he's like, I'm your slave. That makes this a really awkward, like, situation for me.
Right.
But there may be other important people in the world who are very religious, and then if the church says something, they may go along with it.
Yeah,
so that
I guess
could
that's
be
true.
More of a stumbling block than just the church itself.
Yeah,
he's trying to get all the other kings and stuff on his side. One of them may be super religious. Who knows?
Space Pope. I got it.
Yeah. Pontifex Crocodilus.
The Space Pope.
Who was it we had on Elantris? Was it Viking Pope?
Viking Pope, yep.
Yep, Viking Pope.
Yeah.
Never actually met that guy.
No, would have loved to.
Maybe someday. Maybe Elantris 2 it will be subtitled Viking Pope.
Specifically Viking Pope, even though they don't have Vikings in that on that planet.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it does feel a little weird that Kaladin goes so long letting the people just continue to think whatever they want to think about his arrival.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he's just been through some major emotional event. Yeah. Like, so I kind of get it, but it's just because he's kind of sitting there, and it even kind of makes reference to he's sitting there kind of not paying attention. Like, he's hearing what they're saying, but he's not really caring that much. And maybe in the back of his mind, it's because he knows, like, it's not like this is going to create any issues for me.
Not long term, yeah.
Right. But at the same time, it's weird that he would kind of just let it go. But yeah.
Yeah. Presumably, when we come back, he'll have to say something about the fact that he just punched Light Eyes in the face.
Yeah, he'll be like, "Hey, that's a major crime." He'll be like, "Don't worry about it," and then pull out a shard blade, and his eyes light up, and he's like, "See?" And I'm like, "Oh,
that makes it perfectly okay." the sad thing is that it's true. That does, I think, make it more or less fine.
Yeah. What's Roshone gonna do? What's a girl gonna do? You know.
Yeah, these were good chapters. I mean, there was say what you will about the Sanderlanche. We went from a proposal to a wedding to a journey and a reunion, and then a good old punch in the face at the end. So there's really something for everybody in these chapters. I am liking where we're going so far. I think it's still very early days, and yeah, there's a little bit of recapping and all that sort of normal stuff. But I like that we've kind of taken a bit of a change on where we've been. You know, we're not really Shattered Plains now. We've got Irithiru and back to Hearthstone. So I like a little bit of a change of pace. And I think watching Kaladin come back, you know, we've only really seen him here in his flashbacks. So to see how he can play this, I think will be really interesting. And I've honestly really enjoyed having more of that Kaladin and Syl moment in these chapters. I think they were quite good. Like, yes, a bit of it was recappy, but I've really enjoyed their dynamic from the beginning. So that was kind of cool to see that again. And yeah, we touched on You Almost Killed Me. I hope we don't touch on that all the time in this book. Like, yeah, okay, he almost killed her, but he didn't. She's still here. Let's move on a bit now. A lot's happened since then, so we'll keep that going. I also thought I kind of liked the contrasting feelings in the wedding between Elhokar and then Adolin and Renarin. Yeah, obviously Elhokar's got a lot that he needs to unpack with Dalinar, and now for probably a couple of reasons, even though those reasons were really still there to begin with. But you know, his sort of confessions in the last book to Kaladin, like there is a lot there that Elhokar needs to go through and talk about. So I hope that he's given an opportunity in these books to have that conversation with Dalinar. It sounds like they maybe will, but yeah, good entertaining chapters, and not so much a cliffhanger of where we leave it, but definitely looking forward to seeing what happens next there.
Yeah, you're not wrong that Elhokar has some stuff he needs to work through, especially concerning Dalinar, but just in general, like, he's got some issues.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs a good counselor, first of all, to work through some stuff.
Like everybody in the story, basically.
Yeah, everyone's got a bit of baggage there. Yeah, be interesting to see how they work through it all.
Yeah. Elhokar and Dalinar need to sit down and have a conversation or something. Like, it's getting real awkward. But I also agree with you that I love the Kaladin-Syl relationship. It's all of the like people and their Spren relationships are so different, but they're all like interesting, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a really unique bond, and especially because you know, like, you can't interact with this character really any other way. It's nice to have that, and it's also our window into other things we don't know about. But yeah, it's a very different relationship to what you would normally see play out on a page, and I really like it.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the Golden Compass, but done better. Like the demons in the
Daemon, yeah.
Daemon,
Yeah.
whatever.
However you pronounce it.
You didn't like that? I love that style.
Oh, I didn't mind it. I just think this is done better.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's been a while since I've read those. I started watching the TV series when it started coming out, and I wasn't super impressed. I need to go back and read this at some point. I read them in like high school, and by the third book, I felt like it was getting real preachy at me about like basically preaching atheism is what it felt like. It's like, no one should believe in God because it's horrible, and here's why. And I was like, look, I don't want to be preached at by either end of this when I'm reading a book. I want to enjoy my book, and I might have a different perspective on it if I read them now. But nice, let's move into these chapters, you guys. The first one is Oaths, and we're still getting pieces from the Oathbringer preface as our epigraphs here. Not the preface to this book that we're reading now, but the preface to the in-universe Oathbringer. I know that many women...
Did we talk about that much last week?
Not much. No, we hit on it a little bit, but there wasn't I think the only thing
Yeah.
was Dak was like, wait, so all of the book titles are going to be in-universe like documents? So
Was there an
Uh,
answer to that, or was that's a nice observation, Dak?
I think what I said was like, yeah, it looks like so far that seems to be the case. I'm not sure Rhythm of War makes sense to be like a book in universe, but I guess it could be.
He gave me the like the donkey answer. He's like, I like that observation. That is a nice observation.
Well, and then I was like, I mean, it is called the Stormlight Archive, so maybe it's supposed to be like an archive of the various books.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But I think the one thing you did say was you wanted us to, like, as we go along, to try to see if we could guess who's writing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I've forgotten that. Yeah. So, Jamie, before we get into that, did you have any thoughts on this? That there's an in-universe
I
Oathbringer?
do.
Okay.
I do. My early guess is Yasna, but I don't know whether that will continue. But so far, it seems to kind of make sense to me. But
Okay, that makes sense.
mm,
I think this one in particular sounds kind of Yasna-ish, where I'll just read it. It's like, I know many women who read this will see it only as further proof that I am the godless heretic everyone claims. So it's like, that does sound Yasna-ish. Yeah.
yeah, and
Although
I
we
did go
just-
back and I realized this is chapter 3, so we're pretty early. But I
True.
did go back and read through the other 2, and I can't remember exactly what they said, but I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I could see it was something about like it needs to be written, or they didn't want it written, and I'm going to write it anyway. And I was like, yeah, I could see it happen. So I'm just going to keep that in my back pocket.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah,
Somebody did get called a heretic this chapter, though. So maybe it's Dalinar?
I mean, true.
I was thinking Dalinar from the word jump, and the whole thing about women might call me a heretic was specifically because he was writing it as a man. And
Oh,
that's-
I was going to
for
say,
women.
so he's like dictating this. You think he's actually writing?
Yeah.
That
I'm
would
gonna go.
Wow.
Dalinar like writes it. That's heresy of the highest order.
That would be. Wow, I'm trying to. It's not enough that he's like going around saying God is dead, which you can understand why the church might have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. Not only that, he's like, you know what, God is dead, and I'm gonna learn to read. What do you think of that? Oh, they would not be happy with him.
It's very easy in our world to say those two things don't seem equal, but we don't live in this society, so we don't know how much of a taboo it really is. We'll never fully grasp that.
It's probably true. No matter how much they tell us, we haven't internalized. They're like, oh my God, a man can read.
Mein Führer, I can read. Different.
Brilliant.
Nice. Okay. So Oaths starts out 2 days after Sadeas was found dead. The Everstorm came again. So I guess this is Lift's chapter, or Lift's rather novella, is happening during this period. That is one sentence of this book. And Dalinar is hanging out in his room. Navani's nearby, and he's talking to the Stormfather. And the Stormfather is clarifying once again, like, this storm is a new thing. Like, this is not anything we've seen before. And like I said, this is a very different sort of Spren relationship than any that we've seen so far, and still very interesting in its own way, where Dalinar's just like, I ask him questions and sometimes he responds, but sometimes he seems to like be ignoring me just to prove that he can ignore me and he doesn't have to listen. And they're above the storm, but looking down, he can see like the red lightning and stuff down there. And the monarchs that they've been writing to all this time are starting to write back on the span reads. They're kind of having to acknowledge that, wow, maybe you weren't lying or crazy when you said that this weird wrong direction high storm was going to come. And she's like, they're going to have to listen to us soon. And I love Dalinar's line, I think you underestimate the stubbornness a crown can press into a man or woman's mind, Navani. So true. You're like, I'm king. I don't have to admit when I'm wrong. And he gets like a weird feeling off this storm. Not like high storms. Like this storm he thinks feels hateful. It feels vengeful. Whereas the high storms never felt like personal in their power. And he gets a quick vision of like the storm ripping apart houses and blasting people with lightning. And he goes, whoa, was that real? And the Stormfather says, yes, the enemy rides this storm. He's aware of you, Dalinar. So that's nice. The enemy is aware of Dalinar. But the storm is not as destructive as they'd feared. I mean, it'll still leave thousands dead, but it's not going to be like the first time where it was ripping up like plateaus and stuff. And then the two of them get real close, and he pulls back after like kissing her, and she's like, Dalinar, your stubborn refusal to get seduced is making me question my feminine wiles. Which that's also a fun line. And he says that we need to do this right with oaths, however you say. And she's like, okay, but how? Kadash turned us down, as did Ladent. Even Rushu, she squeaked when I mentioned it and literally ran away. So none of the Ardents will marry them. And she's like, if we love each other, then who cares? We'll just do what we want. And he goes, no, that's blasphemous. And she says, I'm not the one telling everyone God is dead. And I love that his response to that is, well, not everyone. It's like, I didn't tell everyone yet. And then they get distracted a little bit by the room and the furnishings. And he's like, I'm going to have someone clear this area out. You can turn it into a sitting room or something.
It's like they just moved in a week ago and already the house is full of shit.
Right? Yeah. And then he starts thinking back to his previous marriage, which he cannot remember at all. When I married last, I did many things wrong. I started wrong. And Navani's like, well, I mean, you married for her shard plate, but many marriages are for political reasons. That doesn't mean you were wrong. And then, he has a reaction to that because he can't, hear this woman's name. And she's like, hey, look, I'm not trying to replace her. I know that you still love her. Or whatever. I can share you with her memory. And he's like, oh, I probably should tell her, huh? Yeah, I don't remember her. Can't remember her at all. Portraits of her are fuzzy smudges to my eyes. Her name is taken from me whenever spoken. It's all just gone. And Navani looks at him and goes, the alcohol? That would be a hell of a.
It's like, I drink so much wine. Specifically, that is gone.
To the point that portraits of her, he can't see them currently. Like,
I don't know. I'm in a constant state of inebriation specific to her.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
No, it's like that question. It's just so out there.
Yeah, I feel like Brandon, maybe he doesn't drink, doesn't know what alcohol does, because that doesn't make any sense, Brandon.
Or maybe Navani doesn't.
I feel like if we've seen her drink, even if we haven't, she's supposed to be a smart scholar lady. She probably knows what alcohol does to people.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've seen her drink. I don't know that we've seen her eat even. She's been at the feasts, but we are usually in Dalinar's perspective. So we only see when she comes and shows up at his table, which is not where the women eat.
That's true.
Maybe we know that Dalinar was passed out at the table, right, when Gavilar
It's true.
died. Yeah. So maybe he was so excessive in his drinking back in the day. She's like, a whole bunch of this is just blacked out completely. But
yeah.
He's obviously he's explaining it in terms of I can remember things surrounding this person, but not remembering this person. They're obviously very different things, but she doesn't know what he's picturing.
Yeah, it's true. He would have to have been a real wild drunk back then, but it's possible.
I don't think it's possible, guys. I don't think that's what that does.
I don't think it's possible that obliterated a singular source of memory because of the drinking. But I know we've only had one flashback of Dalinar, but I don't particularly like that Dalinar. Things have changed for him, which is probably a good thing. It sounds like.
It does seem like that, yeah. That Dalinar, if that was who we had in the modern day story, it would be a very different story.
Maybe there's there's a booze where they get an infused Stormlight sphere and put it in the booze, and the sphere dissolves and the Stormlight goes through the liquid, and when you drink it, it just massively fucks your head up, and it just targeted all these memories. It's and then you got magic involved, magic booze, god booze,
magic god booze.
Okay, and his answer is no, something more than alcohol. And she's like, oh, the old magic. You said you knew your boon and your curse. And he just nods. And she's like, oh, man. And he's like, people look at me when her name comes up and they give me these pitying looks. They see me having this expression and they're like, oh, man, he must be hurting so much. But really, it's just hard for me to follow a conversation when half of it slips out of your brain along the way.
That would be very distracting.
Yeah. And he's like, maybe I loved her. I don't actually know at this point.
Everyone's having the conversation. It's like, oh, Dalinar, remember that thing your wife used to do? He's like, yeah. Shit was crazy.
Sure. Which thing? I mean, to be fair, I don't think he would go to the trouble of trying to forget her if he didn't love her. So he probably loved her a lot.
That would make sense. I agree. He's like, I don't even remember how she died, and I know that I should remember something about that. Like, there was a city in rebellion or something, and my wife was taken hostage. I don't know.
Sounds pretty traumatizing.
That sounds ominous as hell.
It does. Well, and then he follows that up with, in his head, that and a long march alone, accompanied only by hatred and the thrill. He'd brought vengeance to those who had taken his wife from him. So it's very ominous.
Yeah, but like then there's like the whole, all right, he's brought vengeance to those who took him. If like, I'm just, once again, we've got a book where the death of someone close to the main character is a bit of a mystery. Like it's happened all 3 times in Stormlight.
Oh yeah, it has.
And it's never quite panned out well, I guess Tien sort of did, but like for Shallan, it's like, oh, the twist was, she killed her dad. And then, like, it turns out she killed her mum as well. That was the twist. I'm like, okay, so is the twist in this going to be Dalinar somehow got his wife killed and he took vengeance on those who took her from him, by which he means himself, by forcing himself to forget or something. Yeah, there's going to be a twist in this tale somewhere.
It makes sense for there to be a twist. If it was like the same twist as the last one, that might feel a little bit repetitive. But I like where your brain is going as far as the twistiness of it. Like the way you said it, I was like, oh, that's like a couple of steps to. But okay, yeah, I like this thinking.
Yeah. Like I don't think he directly killed her, but I think his actions have probably led to her death. Just from the way it's got to dance around it like this.
That would make you.
He's like, we don't negotiate with terrorists, and then they kill her, and he's like, oh.
I should have negotiated with terrorists.
Yeah. And so they get into like, who could marry us? Maybe like a foreign priest? And he's like, no, that would be tantamount to declaring myself a heretic. No, I'm not going to do that. Elokar, she says. And he goes, oh, I would not want to put him in that position. Also, I feel like Elokar might say no, but. And then he has an idea. I'm not going to defy the Vorin Church, but I might be willing to sidestep it. Maybe someone with greater authority than the priests. And she's like, she figures it out pretty quick. Like, you want a spren to marry us. Using a foreign priest is heretical, but not a spren. It's like, well, I mean, the Stormfather is the largest remnant of honor, a sliver of the Almighty himself. That's the closest thing to God we have. And she's like, I mean, sure, I'm not arguing with you. I don't care who marries us as long as we do it. I just think it's weird. And he goes, that's the best we're going to get.
Like,
very good.
Isn't this just the ultimate, copying your boss into the email chain because other people won't do what you want them to do?
I had never thought of it that way, but yes, yeah. Like, you priests don't want to listen? Fine, I'll put I'll CC God, and then we'll see how you feel. They still don't love it. Spoiler.
They're just like, I'm going to CC in God. Well, you said God was dead. Well, part of him's not.
It's complicated, okay?
The difference is it's not their God.
Yeah. And so he's like, it's the best we're going to get, assuming he's willing. And then he looks at her and raises an eyebrow. And she's like, is that a proposal? And this is not how you want to propose, by the way, audience. Just his proposal was like raising an eyebrow. And then when she asks, is that a proposal? It says ... Yes?
Don't put a question at the end.
Definitely. Well, I mean, you could.
I feel like Navani was just going to take it.
Yeah.
She's like, at this point, I'm going to take what I can get. Although she tells him, she's like, Dalinar, you can do better than that. Or she says, you can do better. And he goes, better than you? No, I don't think I could. Which, okay, that was a good recovery. I'll give you that. And then we cut basically straight to the wedding. Like, Dalinar is riding up the elevator to the wedding. He's got Adolin and Renar in there, some guards. Shallan is also there. And the Stormfather was apparently totally on board, which he's kind of surprised about, but he's like, I'll take it. And the Stormfather's explanation is, I respect all oaths.
Yep, the Stormclass is coming and goes, man, I ate this shit up. This is my bread and butter.
Apparently, yeah. Oaths are the mark of men and true spren over beasts and sub-spren.
Would you be willing to also marry my son and his fiancée? No. She's
We're
got
just gonna
fuck that.
Could they hear me if I did? Oh, good point.
We're gonna start a new trend where the Stormfather is just marrying everybody.
Storm clouds
just,
just form like the little priest collar
There's the
or something.
novella we need.
Yeah.
Storm,
Is this
Storm
giant
of
cloud?
Storm
Yeah,
of Love.
Love.
Wow. the
Giant
romance
cloud
novel.
just comes
yeah.
in. It's like love. Twoo love.
Okay.
Yeah, but that with like that James Earl Jones rumble in the storm clouds, would be like, oh, that'd be something else.
His guards are from Bridge 13 these days because Bridge 4 is just too important for simple guard duty now. And he makes it up to the top, and Navani has found a wedding dress somewhere, which he's like, oh, wow, where did you get that? And apparently their traditional wedding regalia includes a red dress for luck and a bridal crown, which is a headdress with jade and turquoise, which it says like complements the red dress. I'm not good at matching colors, but I feel like jade and red is maybe not the, I don't know.
definitely a
It's
bold
Christmassy.
choice, but it could be done well, I guess.
It is kind of Christmas. I didn't think about that. And Talar's like, oh crap, should I have found something traditional to wear? And Elokar's up there, dressed formally, but clearly, not. He's paler than normal because he's still recovering from that assassination attempt where he almost bled to death. But also, he's just not happy about this.
I mean, can you imagine if they had asked Elokar to preside over this wedding? Do you, Mum, take my uncle to be your lawful wedded husband?
Yeah, it's awkward. That's real awkward. And he was worried Navani wouldn't be able to find women willing to notarize the wedding, but they've got a couple people there. Kalami, who we met last time, and Teshav. I don't remember if we know her. And there's some officers, scribes, a few other people hanging out, including the ardent Kadash, who has a beard and a scar, and we've met him a few times. He's the guy who, all the way back in the first book, Adolin went to consult on if his father was going crazy or not. Clearly, from Kadash's perspective, things have not improved in that sense. And so Dalinar thinks it's a good sign that Kadash has come. Like, maybe with everything else that's happening, a high prince marrying his widowed sister-in-law isn't that big a deal. And he asked Navani, like, how did you find, like, a wedding outfit? Because remember, they took everything from their camp and were in a giant storm/battle, and, like, supplies are at a premium at this point. And she's just like, a lady must be prepared. All right.
Navani didn't just source this. She's had this for a while. She's like, the second this comes up, I will have a dress. Because it sounds like she didn't really give him much time to go, we're getting married now. You just proposed to me, we're going.
Let's do it. Gotta make sure he doesn't double think this or anything.
Yeah.
Do not give him a chance to get away.
Lock that guy down. You gotta.
And he looks over at Elokar and he's like, man, this is gonna like muddy the relationship between us even further. Which, yeah. And he notes that he's been making even more decisions because Elokar's been recuperating, and he feels kind of bad about that. Which I pointed out last time when he appointed like a High Prince of Information and a High Prince of Commerce. And I'm like, wait a second, are you allowed to do that? And he's just like, but what I've been doing is for the good of Alethkar, so, I got to do what I got to do. And he turns to Elokar and he says, I'm sorry, son. And Elokar goes, you always are. Doesn't stop you, but I don't suppose it should. And he says, hey, I've got things to discuss with you, plans you might appreciate. But for tonight, I just want your blessing if you can give it. And Elokar is real begrudging about it. He's like, this will make my mom happy, so fine. And he kisses her on the cheek and walks to as far away as he could get, basically, and still be here. And then the Stormfather appears. And just like when we've seen him before, his face somehow takes up the entire sky from horizon to horizon, which I assume is not the actual case. Like, I assume that if you're like 20 miles to the west, you don't see him, but looks real impressive. And the Stormfather basically is just like, he says, oaths are the soul of righteousness. If you are to survive the coming tempest, oaths must guide you. And he has them both like declare an oath to each other. And he's like, all right, we're done.
End of ceremony.
Yeah.
Everybody leave.
And he vanishes and everyone has awe spread around their heads. It says they are smoky blue rings, but Navani is ringed by glory spread, little gold lights. Adolin lets out a whoop, and things start breaking up. Everyone starts shaking hands with him and congratulating him, and it's all good. Even Elokar gave his mom a hug and clapped Dalinar on the shoulder. And as everyone leaves, it's just Dalinar and Kadash. And apparently Kadash used to be a soldier in Dalinar's army, maybe even one of those, like, what did he call him? He called that group of soldiers that it wasn't his guard. He's
His
like, I don't need a
elites.
guard. His elites, yeah, maybe one of his
Yeah.
elites.
His elites, because it made me think of Halo.
Yeah. And Kadash is like, I'm going to have to report this. The Ardentia will not be pleased. And Dalinar's like, but they can't deny my marriage. The Stormfather himself blessed it. And he's like, a spren. You think we're going to accept the authority of a spren? And Dalinar's like, well, it's a remnant of the Almighty. And Kadash is like, dude, this is what the shit I'm talking about. That's blasphemy. You can't say that. And he's like, Kadash, come on. You know I'm not a heretic. You fought with me. And he's like, wait, that's supposed to make me feel better? Thinking about the stuff that we did back then? No. I appreciate who you are now. Don't remind me of who you once were. Which, now that we've seen some of who he once was, I get it.
Maybe I've just missed it in the previous books, but I feel like now that we've had a scene of what Dalinar was like all of a sudden it's like, oh, remember how you used to suck so much? And like, man, we went 2 books without a lot of that, aside from maybe Sadeas going, you and me were buddies, and because it was Sadeas, we didn't really listen to him.
Well, I mean, we've always been told that Dalinar had a reputation, and I think in Alethkar, the guy he was is probably pretty appreciated, you know?
That's true. Their society does value being a violent shithead.
Yeah.
Again, Sadeas.
Yeah, right. And then a memory pops in there, Kadash, bloodied, kneeling on the ground, having retched up his stomach. And he's like, oh, man, what is that? He'd left to become an Ardent the next day. The Rift, Dalinar says, Rathalos. And Kadash is like, yeah, we don't need to drag that stuff up. This isn't about that. It's about what you've been saying about these visions. And he's like, they're holy messages sent by the Almighty. Holy messages claiming the Almighty is dead? Arriving on the eve of the return of the Voidbringers? Can you not see how this looks? I'm your Ardent, your slave, and maybe even still your friend. And I've been trying to explain this stuff away, but you can't keep doing this. I don't even care if you marry Navani. Like, that's like an outdated prohibition. Like, who cares? But this shit cannot keep going. And Dalinar tries to appease him by being like, hey, look, honor is dead, but I think there's something else beyond that. Like a more powerful something. The Almighty, he might have died, but that just means that he never was God in the first place.
Yeah,
And
you probably need to pick your audience on this one.
Yeah. Kadash is like, dude, what are you saying? Like, no. You don't seem to realize you're aboard a ship barely afloat in a storm while you insist on doing a jig on the prow.
That's okay. The storm god is my boy. Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, it doesn't. None of it helps.
He's like, I'm not worried about storms. I'm bonded with the Stormfather. Shut up, Dan.
And he's like, look, I don't think you're lying, but we both know that you can make mistakes. Do not forget that I was there. You're not infallible. And Dalinar's like, what is he talking about? And then he leaves, and that's the end of it. So, yeah, a bunch of almost like some big arrows. Like, something weird happened in his past. Want to bet we might figure that out in the flashbacks? Look over there. And then we get a map of Alethkar, which I love. It says, annotated for your convenience. And there's a little X where Hearthstone is.
It's like, this is where Kaladin went.
Yep. I think that's also the only annotation. So apparently it took longer to write annotated for your convenience than it took to write X and Hearthstone. But
Naz is a dramatic fucking guy. It's like, seriously, like Kelsier, Kaladin, Naz, like the Cosmere is largely made up of drama queens.
I'm not going to disagree.
Naz is just like, she's like, I want an annotated map of where Kaladin went. He's like, but it's just right here. Annotated, damn it. She draws the X, Hearthstone, and he's like, show you. Annotated for your convenience.
Maybe I should underline it just to...
Yeah. Put like an asterisk right next to Hearthstone and then also down at the bottom. Also, I don't think I realized the Shattered Plains is so close to Alethkar as it appears on this map. So, but it's also cool that now you see, I think we saw a map back in the day of Alethkar, but we didn't know any of these places when we started the first book. So now you can see like, hey, here's the Kholin princedom, here's Royan and Aladar, and Sabarial's kind of down in the bottom in the middle. And then in the top left is Sadeas, and sure enough, Hearthstone is right there in the middle of Sadeas's thing, which is also real close to her Daz. So that's interesting. There's a river called the Windrunner River and the Sunmaker Mountains. We've heard of the Sunmaker pretty recently. So I like maps. It's a fun little map. Moving on to Hearthstone. I can point to the moment I decided for certain this record had to be written. I hung between realms, seeing into Shadesmar, the realm of the Spren, and beyond. We know Yasna's been into Shadesmar. That may be another like tick in the column of maybe it's her. But Shalon has too, for that matter. So
It's true. At the moment, I think it fits nicely to Yasna, but again, we don't know what's happening to any of our other characters this book. So
it's true. Yep.
Let's pull out a crazy one here. Maybe it's none of them. Maybe it's the Stormfather, and like, oh, he's like people call me a heretic because they say I'm not really part of God, and they say that God's still alive and everything. And it's like, wait, how is the giant Stormspren writing a book? Like Dalinar walks in, there's just a cloud holding a pen. Like, okay, what are you doing? Nothing.
You saw nothing. Leave now. I would pay for a book written by a Spren in here. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Spren don't have that whole like taboo against learning to read and write. So.
No, his like heresy is just existing apparently.
So Kaladin is just trudging through a field, and he's all down on himself, as Kaladin generally is. Let's be fair. But this time he's upset because he failed to make it home in time. And we find out that like he flew in about half a day. He flew from the Shattered Plains to somewhere over Aladar's Princedom, which is like the next one over from Sadius's when you look at the map, and way north. So he flew a good way in that half day. It says over 1,000 miles that he flew, but the last 90 or so miles he had to walk has taken 3 days. He had not beaten the Everstorm. It had arrived earlier that day around noon. And as if to punctuate that, he finds a piece of a building, which he says, oh, this is the edge of the roof that hangs on like the leeward side of the building. So it probably got ripped away by the storm. That it's not designed to protect against something coming from that direction. And he's passed through some towns, but nobody has working span reads, so he hasn't been able to contact anyone, including home. Which maybe you should have thought of that before you left. Like, hey, can you guys use a span read and write to let them know that something's coming? A little too late now. He had to change uniforms because his old one was bloody and tattered, and now he's just wearing like a generic uniform. And apparently after a few hours without summoning his shard blade, his eyes turn brown instead of the super light blue that they turn after he summons her. So he's not like permanently a light eyes. Maybe, I don't know if he should feel better or worse about that, but. And he tells Syl that we're about 2 hours from home, and Syl's like, that's great. You'll be excited. You should be excited. And he's just like, she doesn't get it. Also, we learned the Everstorm does not recharge your spheres like the High Storm does, so that's good to know, I guess. Meanwhile, Syl is wearing a new dress, a hava, kind of like the Vorin women wear, with all including the safe hand covering longer sleeve on the left side. And she's like, hey, you like my new dress? And he says, it looks strange on you. Which, dude, that's not the right thing to say. I'll have you know I put a ton of thought into it. I spent positively hours thinking of just ooh, what's that? I love Syl. Syl's the best.
Squirrel.
And then she comes back like, what was I saying? Oh, nothing important. No, I'm sure I was scolding you about something. Aren't you excited to be almost home? And he has to explain, it's like, we were supposed to beat the Everstorm, Syl, to warn them about the danger, and we failed. Why hadn't I been faster? And so basically he thinks that, like, between the storm and the Voidbringers that the storm was supposed to awaken, that he's going to find everybody dead. But he's like, I have to go. I have to see it. Someone has to witness like the destruction of my home, basically. And as they start to arrive at home, it starts raining again. And Syl creates for herself a little umbrella to keep her dress dry.
Priorities.
Yeah. Although I don't think rain can actually touch her, so it's all just for show. And so it's dark when he gets there and he can't see too much. Some of the buildings are just gone and others have had the roofs ripped off. But a lot of them are still here, more than he actually kind of expected. He can't see his home and he's kind of too scared to go there and face what he might find. So instead, he starts going towards the Light Eyes house, Rashon's manor. And he thinks about Moash briefly. He's like, I'm going to have to face his betrayal sometime. But not now.
Well, and if he was facing it now, that would raise a lot of questions. Moash, what are you doing here?
I think he means in his own head, but yeah.
Mm.
He was pretty sure that if he ran across Rashon's broken corpse, he wouldn't be too heartbroken. So that's why he's like, you know what? The manor house is a good place to start. If I find all of them dead, it won't be so bad.
Maybe if I'm lucky, I can kick it a few times.
Yeah.
It's
funny 'cause-
Schnage.
He has no way to know that Sadius has died. Like he'd be throwing a party. We see Gloomspren, which Kaladin says are really rare. They look like a long gray tattered streamer of cloth blowing in the wind. And Syl says that she had an aunt who used to hunt them. Like, you guys hunt great shells. Can't remember her name, though. Also, she's not really my aunt, just an honor spren that I referred to that way. And this is where they get into the thing about, like, you know, as long as you don't try to kill me again. And he's like, how many times am I going to have to apologize for that?
A bunch more.
Yeah. And he's like, it's been at least 50. And she's, no, it hasn't. It can't be more than 20. Okay. And then he sees a light up ahead. And is the manor on fire? But no, it looks like candles or lanterns. Maybe somebody survived. And he heads up the path and he starts like kind of looking around, trying to see what happened. The Parshmen were housed in a little structure right next to the manor. And so he goes to look there first, and he finds a large hole ripped in it. And just as he's looking more closely, the manor door opens and somebody comes out. And it's a soldier, a guardsman. He's like, hey, who are you? Our deserter? Come out here. And Kaladin's like, either this guy survived the Voidbringer assault, or he's part of an expedition that's investigating the aftermath. But either way, this is a positive sign. There are living humans here. And that's the end of that chapter. So yeah, you're right that it did feel very much like a let's meet Kaladin and Syl again and re-explain what we're doing here.
Yeah, there's been a few moments like that in this book where it almost rehashes what we already know. And I was like, who's picking up the third book in a series and starting there? Like, I don't really understand the little purposes of like the re-explanation of some of the little tiny points, unless there was a really long time between the two books and he's trying to remind readers, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, some book series do it a bit, and I think Harry Potter didn't give up on the whole. Oh yeah, Voldemort killed my parents' story until like what, the 5th, maybe the 6th book.
Yeah, that's one of my heaviest criticisms of that series. Is like every time they re-explain stuff that you should already know, I'm like, we already know that.
The Dresden Files is real bad about that too.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
and the thing about Jim in the Dresden Files is not only does he reintroduce everybody and everything, he does it with almost the exact same words that he's used previously, so it really stands out. But I mean, some people they just find the book on the shelf and they don't realize it's the third one in the series and they want to read it. It happens. It's amazing the number of people I've seen on Reddit who start with Alloy of Law without having read the first Mistborn series because they have no idea. Or even better, like I've seen several people who either went straight to Shadows of Self and didn't realize Alloy of Law was a thing because they thought it was a trilogy. Just like, why is the second one 4 books instead of 3? But I think I've seen some people who read Alloy of Law and then accidentally skipped the second one, Shadows of Self, and read Bands of Mourning, and it's just so confusing.
Yeah,
this depends on the book series.
I
was like, there was another book series I know that did this. What was Animorphs? When I was growing up, fucking Animorphs. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my favorite guy was the guy who turned into a hawk permanently, but then he turned into an alien and it was weird.
Tobias. Yeah, no, like that one, like that series was like reintroducing the series pretty much every book, and it made it to like 50 books.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, even as a child, even though they were somewhat serialized, I kind of took that more as of an anthology because a lot of the stories were simpler and standalone. But I mean, you're right, it was pretty much a serial as well.
Yeah.
I feel like when we were kids, it was even harder to know for sure, like what number. There wasn't like Google where you could be like, hey, what book series is this? What number of book is this?
That's true.
And it'd be like, I'd be checking books out of the school library, and maybe they didn't have books 1 and 2. And so.
Right. Yeah, they only had 4. It's like, I want Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, but they only have Fellowship and Return of the King. Awesome.
First Animorphs book I read was number 22. Terrible place to start that.
I wanted to read Don Quixote in high school once, in our school library. Only had it in Spanish. Because that's the original language.
Spanish at all?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not good enough at Spanish to read this novel, so I guess I've still never read Don Quixote, actually, now that I think about it.
Can you imagine if you did though? That's how you learned Spanish, by reading the Spanish version of that book. Take that, Duolingo.
I once picked up a copy of like the collected Canterbury Tales. I was like, oh, cool. I want to read those. And didn't actually crack it open before I purchased it at a used bookstore. It was in Middle English.
Nice. Juan dat April with a shore sota.
Yep. The Drut of Pars have mercy to the rota. Bothered every vein in Swish liqueur. We've done this before, but yeah. I can't read the whole thing in Middle English, is my point.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I actually, when we recorded the previous episode of this, I forgot to do the thing where I was like, hey, since we're starting a new book, this is like full spoilers for all the stuff that we've read. So I had to add that in the edit. But I had that same feeling. Like, are people really starting on book 3 of the Stormlight Archive with us? They haven't been here, but it could happen. So, you know.
I mean, I get it. Like, somebody recommends the podcast and they don't really explain enough about it. So you just like download it and start with the next episode that comes out. Like, I kind of get it, but at the same time, I don't get it.
Well, we don't do that every episode, just the first episode of the book. So if this episode was the first one you downloaded, we probably spoiled stuff already.
Yeah, that's true.
Our last chapter for today is 4 lifetimes. I thought I was surely dead. Certainly some who saw further than I did thought I had fallen. I don't know what saw further than I did it necessarily means in that context, but so this is someone.
I thought he meant into Shadesmar, but again, even if they saw further into Shadesmar, what does that mean?
Yeah.
When I was sort of thinking about it, I was like, maybe it was Hoyd who knows more about everything, thought that Yasna had fallen, and then it turned out like he was surprised to find out she was alive as well. So it's kind of, I fear that I'm falling into the trap of I've built up this idea of who this is about already by chapter 6, and now I'm going to make it all fit my narrative. But I will try not to do that. But that was my thought on that.
She's doing some eisegesis instead of exegesis. I get it.
You know, maybe it'll pay off for you. You never know. Kaladin goes into the house with the guard, and he passes a guy he knows, a guy named Toravi, one of the farmers. He's like, dude, I remember that guy as being enormous, but he's actually shorter than I am, which I think we established not too long ago that Kaladin is freaking tall. So like, he's taller than Dalinar and stuff. So, but he's
one tall guy.
Yeah. This farmer does not recognize Kaladin. And as they go through the house, he sees more and more people he knows, and no one recognizes him. But a lot of people survived what happened, so that's a good thing. And then he realizes, like, well, my parents, where are my parents? And he tries to move off through the people, and the soldier's like, hey, hold on, don't make me down, you son. The guy's got a mace. And Kaladin looks at him, and he thinks that rusted cap is a disgrace, but whatever.
What are you gonna do? Hit me with that fish?
And the guy's like, we're just going to go find Bright Lord Rashon. You're going to explain why you're skulking around the place, act real nice, and maybe he won't hang you, okay? And he also realizes people are just noticing his brands, deserter, dangerous. Like, yeah, okay, I get why people would think this then. And Syl's like, why does nobody recognize you? And he's like, I mean, why would they recognize me? I am very different from the kid who left here.
I forgot about the mark. So when in the start of the last book, then they were trying to get the other tattoos. It was the Stormlight that was healing the fresh ones. Yeah. How come this one never healed again?
This is an excellent question.
God damn it.
They don't explain it at that they don't explain it at that time, but I got the sense from the way it was written, at least the internal monologue of Kaladin, is like he has to almost like subconsciously will it to want to go away. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's like a higher thing going on with like spread and gods and things like that. But it's almost like since Kaladin doesn't want the marks to go away, they don't go away.
Right. Okay. I guess that tracks.
I think what he says at the time is he's like, I guess the brands are not done with me yet.
Yeah. But that's like in his mind, like the brands are not done with me yet. Like that makes it sound like this is all on him. Like, yeah, the brands don't have a will of their own, at least not that we know of. So like it's got to be in his mind that he can't give it up yet for some reason.
Could be.
Maybe coming home will be part of it.
Yeah. Or maybe he's like Zaz and Batman. He needs the mark.
I feel like coming home should, and finding his parents alive, that should definitely help him in some way.
Turns out, like, he was banking the whole time on, like, I'm going to save it for next time I see Sadius. I'm going to use the Stormlight and heal the mark off my face. And then he gets back, Sadius is dead. Fuck!
Nah, he should save it for Amaram. That's
I was
what
about to say
save it
Amaram's
for.
the one that had them put on there, except for the dangerous one. That was later.
Yeah, true.
And he's like, this is not the homecoming I had imagined when I went off to war. Like, I felt like I'd be returning as a hero, delivering my brother back safe. Everyone would finally realize how awesome I am and be nice to my family again. And then he's like, idiocy. These people had never treated him or his family with any measure of kindness. And so the soldier pushes at him like, come on, let's go. And Kaladin waits for him to try to shove harder, and then he kind of rolls and lets the guy's own weight take him like stumbling past. And then when he turns angrily, Kaladin gives him the look, the smolder. No, it's not the smolder.
Dude, was he quivering while he looked at him? That would be awesome. He was just like, "Oh, you're so cute."
And Sill's like, "Ooh, that was quite a glare." And he's like, "Yeah, old sergeant's trick."
That guard is just like, holy shit, I think I'm sterile now.
Whoa. Ow, my sperm. Huh, didn't hurt that time.
I like the note here that as he starts going through the house that there's portraits on the wall, but they're the same portraits that were there like before Roshone moved in. He never bothered to change them.
Maybe in hopes that he wouldn't be there forever.
Yeah, maybe.
And then he just like after a while he's just like, forget it, who cares?
Visitors coming to Rashone's house. Oh, lovely portrait. Who is that? Oh.
Some guy.
Thought maybe I'd get some money for it. And we find out now for the first time, I think, that he's like, he never tried to contact his family after he was freed from slavery because he just couldn't face them. And now he kind of has to, assuming they're alive. And so he asks the guard, who's now chasing him down and trying to be like, hey, trying to give him orders. He goes, they're wounded? And the guy's like, well, yeah, but Kaladin just ignores him and keeps walking away and finds the triage room. And there's a guy kneeling down, splinting somebody's broken arm. He knew as soon as he'd heard the moans of pain where he'd find his father. Maybe a little grayer, a little gaunter, but still the same balding, diminutive, thin, bespectacled, and amazing. And Liren looks up briefly and is like, oh, did the High Prince's house send some soldiers already? That was faster than we expected. And he does like a double take. And Kaladin says, hello, father.
He's like, oh, that guy's my son.
And in this very sweet moment, the guardsman catches up, having to push past people, like waving his mace at Kaladin. And Kaladin just sidesteps and pushes him down the hall and goes on having a conversation with his dad. And his dad runs up and hugs him and calls for Hesina, Cal's mom. And she appears holding like a tray of freshly boiled bandages and drops it on seeing what's happening.
Oh, that's not sterile.
No, not sterile anymore. And Sill is like zipping around laughing. Kaladin, he can't be too happy yet. I'm sorry. I joined the army to protect him, but I could barely protect myself. I let him die. I'm sorry. It's my fault. And she tells him, we got your letter. Sorry, you want to?
No, I was gonna tell a bad joke. It's not a good joke.
Okay.
I was gonna be like, it's okay. You're our favorite anyway.
Oh.
Ouch.
That's messed up, dude.
Yeah, you're gonna have to cut that one.
It's true, but he shouldn't say it.
Yeah, exactly. He's out of line, but he's not wrong. We got your letter, but over a year ago they told us you died too. And he's not surprised or anything by this. He's just like, I should have saved him. And it's just like, well, you shouldn't have gone in the first place, but you're back. And he's crying. He's like, my son is alive.
Why you gotta bring up bullshit, Dad? Like, really? I'm back. You're like, yeah, you shouldn't have gone, but you're alive. Like, okay, come on, Dad.
He doesn't have the context. He doesn't know. Like, Kaladin has been enslaved and then fought the assassin in white and all the other crazy shit he's done. He's had some adventures.
I've seen some shit, Dad. He's like, why don't you see your way to helping me splint this leg, asshole?
I killed the assassin in white. You're killing.
Why don't you assassinate? Yeah, I was about to say, why don't you assassinate these bruises and cuts and lacerations? Hurry it up.
What a chasm fiend. You're chasm me a headache. All right,
Dad, when did you get so punny? Well, right. not a lot going on since you left.
I think we're actually told that previously that his mom is the one who likes a good pun.
Without you around, I was the only one to tell your mom puns. She's like over there giggling. It's like he's so good at it now.
It's just when we talk about all the stuff that Kaladin has done, it really is comedic that like it's really comedic that this guard with like the rusty helmet and stuff is like trying to take him on, and he's just like a complete joke that Kaladin is not in the least worried about as he like shoves him around. We cut
like got his arm out on the dude's forehead, and the guy's just swinging his arms, and Kaladin's holding him back while carrying on the conversation.
Yeah, basically that's what it feels like, right? And so we cut to a little bit later. Kaladin's just sitting there holding some soup. Not like it's a cup of soup. He's not holding. Anyway,
he's holding a puddle of soup. Look at my sweet radiant powers.
We ran out of cups
without burning myself.
And so his dad and a soldier are having a conversation over on the side of the room, but like loud enough that Kaladin can hear them. Where it's like, I mean, he's got slave brands. That one glyph says it happened in the princedoms. They probably told you he died to save you from the shame. And a Shosh brand, you don't get that for insubordination. And Kaladin's just sitting here drinking the soup, like, oh, it's like my mom always made it. This is awesome. It's been
a great day. If only Tien was here.
It's been half an hour, and apparently he said very little since he got here. And he's remembering the good times, Tien laughing, brightening the days, studying medicine with his dad, cleaning with his mom. He's like, oh man, so many good times. And his mom is talking to him quietly. It says like as if he's like an animal who might get spooked. Our home still stands. We had to dedicate your spot to something else, but we can make space for you. And Kaladin recognizes the light-eyed soldier who's here, captain of Rashon's guard. Oh, almost seemed too pretty to be a soldier. And his mom's like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Rashon will need your father's skills. He won't make too much of a storm. You won't be taken from us again. And this is where the title of the chapter comes in, where he thinks that since he left 5 years ago, 3 men bearing their son's name had lived and died. The soldier, the slave. His parents had never met Captain Kaladin, bodyguard to the most powerful man in Roshar. I mean, they never met the slave or the soldier either, to be fair. And then this new guy that he is, a man who owned the skies and spoke ancient oaths. 5 years had passed in 4 lifetimes. And the guard's like, We can't just ignore a runaway slave. Like, come on. Look at those haunted eyes and tell me you don't see a man who's done terrible things. And Laren's like, dude, I will buy his like writ of slavery. This isn't a thing, okay? You're not taking him. Tell Rashon he either lets this go or he can go without a surgeon. Unless he assumes Mara can take over just after just a few years of apprenticeship. So I guess after Cal supposedly died, he got a new apprentice. That's probably smart.
I was really hoping either here or when Rashon showed up, they would just go, fine, like if you won't listen to Rashon, maybe you'll listen to High Lord Amaram. And Kaladin just goes, oh, please do call Amaram.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are under, I don't know if they're directly under Amaram. They're under Sadeas. So if they were to call up some higher authority, it would be Sadeas. And
wasn't Sadeas above Rashon? That was why when Tien and Kaladin got drafted, they went to Amaram's army?
Well, no, like Amaram came through recruiting Rashon people for Sadeas' troops, and Rashon was his cousin.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, they're cousins.
So I don't think it was like a directly like line of reporting or anything.
Okay.
But imagine them calling Sadeas if he was still alive, and it's like, hey, this Kaladin guy is here, and Sadeas is like, kill him, kill it with fire.
More like, you better do whatever he wants because he always gets it over on me.
Yeah.
You could try killing him. It probably won't work. I tried several times.
Yeah. You should have seen this one time. He like attracted arrows to a shield. It was weird.
We tried calling up Sadeas on the span read, and it just said, I'm sorry, the Bright Lord is dead now.
Yeah.
and Cal just goes, yeah, and look what happens to the people who mess with me.
His mom does say that things have gotten better. Rashon isn't as bad as he was. I think he feels guilty about getting our 2 sons murdered.
Yeah, you know, you probably should feel guilty about that.
Rashon getting better is like a cancer being in remission.
We can be a family again. And there's something else you need to know about. Of course, Brandon's not going to give us whatever it is.
We had another child. That's probably what he's going to say. What she's going to say.
We took up banjo playing.
We have cancer. Both of us. We're dying.
Oh man, that would be a real bad timing. Well, I guess good timing if he made it before they died.
Yeah. We adopted Laurel. so that'll be fun for you.
She's married to Roshone, though.
Yeah, but we adopted her anyway. It's like a whole thing. We adopted her so that
We're
you would be nice
Roshone's
to us.
parents-in-law. That would be real
Yeah.
awkward.
It's a whole thing, but you'll really enjoy it. It's not awkward at all.
Thanksgiving dinner is weird as shit now.
Yeah. Especially when she sees the way you look. Oh boy, she is going to be jealous.
And his dad comes over. Hasina, write a letter to the High Prince's administrators. Explain the situation. Will that satisfy your master? We can wait for a higher authority.
Well, that higher authority's dead, but it's cool.
Yep. And the soldier's like, I don't know. I never heard of no mayor.
I never heard of no mayor.
He says, I don't like the idea of having a Shosh branded man running around my town.
Gal's like, you are welcome to stop me, buddy.
Oh, please try to stop me. I would just love that.
And I like Kaladin's like, of course they're still thinking of me as a child. What did I do? I walked in looking all ragged and started crying about my little brother. I guess.
And have said nothing else since, pretty
And
much.
have said nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, they think I am batshit crazy.
I mean, yeah, they probably should think that. And Syl says they're like I remember them, and he's like, but you didn't know me when I was here. And she's like, yeah, it's true.
I love this. It's like they're like how I remember them. What are you talking about? I don't know.
She doesn't even go here.
And her explanation is that everything is connected. I didn't know you, but the winds did. And I'm of the winds. And he's like, you're an honor sprint. Yeah, the winds are of honor. We're kindred blood. And he's like, you don't have blood. And she goes, and you don't have an imagination, it appears. So
Just stop. I'm trying to use your limited human vocabulary. Give me a friggin' break, Kaladin.
And then she has a real weird line. Besides, there was another voice, pure, with a song like tapped crystal, distant and yet demanding. And then she just smiles and leaves. Like that made any freaking sense.
Yeah, Syl. She might as well just
So-
start saying Spren as if she's a Smurf, just like, what the Spren is going on here?
I will spring you up.
It's like what? It's like, oh yeah, I was actually supposed to go to TN, but he died, so I stuck to you instead.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
That would be sad.
Kind of like how Navani was supposed to be with Gavilar, but he died, so she stuck to Dalinar instead.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's a-
you remember that one
Wow.
time my dad...
that's a little
like-
mean to Navani.
Yeah. Remember that one time my dad married them? Hilarious. He's like, I wasn't there.
That happened? Wait, what?
Oh
What?
yeah, that's right. I know what happened, but you don't. Haha. I'm Syl.
I'm Syl. That's
I'll be here all week, Kaladin. You'll be here forever. Look, you're trying too hard, Kaladin. Come on.
I want to see her exit every scene like that now. Haha, I'm Syl.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just
See
gonna
you
imagine that
later.
every time now. Kaladin punches Roshone. Haha, I'm Syl.
So Kaladin finally decides it's time to get down to business. Puts his suit down, stands up, does some stretching. Yeah, there's some pops. He's like, okay, I'm ready to go. He like cocks his arms, like, okay, gotta get ready to punch a dude. Because here comes Roshone, speaking with the guard with the rusty helmet. He's wearing a coat several seasons out of fashion. Adolin would have shaken his head. He's got that
love
wooden
that.
leg. Sorry, what?
I love that. But he and Adolin are such a weight now that he's like, I can make a joke about that. That's fine.
Yeah, he's like, man, Aelin would be laughing at this dude. Wish he was here. Actually, no, I don't. I wish his girlfriend was here. Now I'm sad.
Oh man, I'm gonna have the best story to tell Aelin when I get back. You are not gonna believe what this dude was wearing.
The fact
You
that
would've made fun of him.
Kaladin knows Light Eye's coats and how many seasons out of fashion one is. It feels like he spent more time with Adolin than we know.
Yeah. He's like, oh man, Aelin would have a field day with this guy. Right, Syl? Haha, I'm Syl.
Oh, okay, yeah. And we get not. It's almost like a lift description of Roshone with his wooden foot. He'd lost weight, so his skin drooped like melted wax, bunching up at his neck.
Sure.
But he has that same imperious bearing and angry expression. His light yellow eyes blaming everyone and everything for his banishment. And we get a refresh. Oh, he lived in Kolinar and had been involved in the death of Moash's grandparents and so on and so forth. And he looks at Kaladin, and Moash is like, so, you're alive. They didn't teach you to keep yourself in the army, I see. Let me take a look at those brands of yours. And he leans over. He's like, yeah, Storms, boy, what did you do? Hit a light eyes?
Did you say Moash said that?
No,
He did say
Rashawn.
that.
I'm sorry, it's Rashawn.
Yeah. I think
I
he
knew
meant
what he
Rashawn.
meant. Yeah.
It's like, man, like fucking plot twist. Rashawn turns out to have been Moash the whole time.
That would
Yeah.
be the twistiest
Oh,
twist
that's
of all. Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm so mad at me for doing that thing I did to my grandparents that I'm
Turns
going
out-
to kill the king, even though I convinced him to do it.
Turns out I killed my grandparents.
I owned the silversmiths shops that were in competition with theirs.
I decided they should die, and then I was angry about it, and I said, why did the king listen to me? I'm going to kill him.
It's like, and I hate all light eyes, even though I am secretly one.
Yeah, he had light yellow eyes the whole time. It's maybe my favorite moment where he's like, Storms, boy, what did you do? Hit a light eyes? And Kaladin says, yes, and then punched him. I mean, that's not why you got the brands for hitting a light eyes, but
Well, he has done it a few times.
yeah, he's killed several light eyes, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
You know, he killed Shallan's sister, or Shallan's brother, possibly.
Yep.
And
even
couple
before
other
that,
dudes.
yeah, in that same scene, in that same fight, he like threw a knife into a light eye's eye and killed him. So he bashed Rashawn right in the face. A solid hit, exactly like Hav had taught him. Thumb on the outside, knocked him to the ground. And Kaladin's like, that was for my friend Moash. And that's where we stop. So, predicaments. We're going to do 3 chapters for next time. Let me get the chapter titles for you guys. And then we will predict where are we going from here. What's going to happen to Kaladin next after punching a light eyes in the face? Chapter 7 is called A Watcher at the Rim. Chapter 8 is called A Powerful Lie. And chapter 9 is called The Threads of a Screw.
Well, I mean, Powerful Lie, that's got to be a Shallan chapter.
Feels like it, right?
We haven't had one of hers yet. Threads of a Screw. That's an interesting title, but I can't think what it was. What was the first one?
The first one is A Watcher at the Rim.
Watcher at the Rim. And it could be Shallan or Adolin, I guess. But just the Rim makes me think of Urithiru and the things, the terraces. That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much in the way of predictions at this point. I guess it'd be nice for Shallan to show up at some point, but we have no idea where the hell she popped back into existence, so we don't know how long it's going to take. But I'm looking forward to the day that she and Wit just show up to Urithiru in tow.
Do you mean Yasna or Shallan?
I was about to say, yeah.
I
that's
keep
the
fucking doing that. Damn it.
And you
Every
called me out on Moash.
fucking time. Yeah. What was I even saying? I don't know.
You want them to show up at Urithiru.
Yeah. I don't really have much for this. I assume that Kaladin's gonna having punched out Rashawn is like people are gonna freak the fuck out, and then he's just gonna pull his shard blade out and just like come at me, bro. I don't see this little excursion to Hearthstone lasting very long. I feel like he's probably just like, oh, fuck it, like I'm grabbing my parents and going home, which is no longer here. So I don't see us being here for too long, but I don't really know how it's all going to go down. Maybe he drags Rashawn back with him so he can just like haul him up in front of Dalinar for. I don't know what crimes he can actually charge Rashawn of at this point. Rashawn already got exiled for the whole silversmith thing, and he hasn't really done much.
I don't think he's done anything illegal exactly.
Yeah, I don't really know where we're going at this point. I'm just like, all right, well, let's just see how this goes.
Fair. So you think that he's going to take his parents with him and take off?
Oh, I feel like old Dalinar and Urithiru could probably use a skilled surgeon right about now.
One would think, right?
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. I mean, yeah, if I was Kaladin and was now a very important fellow, I would want to get my parents out of this crap hole for sure.
Yeah. Whether Lirin will agree to go is another matter, but we'll see.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, I guess he's apparently quite a stubborn fellow himself, that Lirin. So.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Watchers at the Rim. I mean, that makes me think of like somebody standing at the edge of a chasm. I don't really know how that would apply here. I would assume that this next chapter is going to be a Kaladin chapter just because of where we ended off. So I don't know what Watchers at the Rim would be in reference to as far as that. Maybe Voidbringers, because he did during the chapters, he was kind of like, where are the Parshmen? Where, because he assumed people might have survived the storm, but would more likely be killed by the Parshmen. And that's kind of where he was going to check out at first when he got found by that guard guy. So Watchers at the Rim could be in reference to that, maybe. I don't really know how that would fit in exactly, but it just sounds pretty ominous. So if it is a Kaladin chapter, I would assume that it has something to do with kind of the enemy on the horizon. I liked what Dax said about him taking his parents. I don't think they would go. I think Hasina and Lyran have been in this town long enough that they're like, we're not going anywhere. They want Kaladin to stay with them, but once he kind of explains who he is and what he is now, they'll probably understand that he can't stay. But I don't think that they would be willing to go anywhere. Even with kind of what's going on in the world, I think it's more likely that they'll stay in the town. Yeah, as far as the Lie one, I think that's a Shallan chapter for sure. We need a Shallan chapter after all this. We've had nothing but Dalinar and Kaladin, which is great, but we need some Shallan action. So hopefully that'll be that. And then the screw thing, the threads of screw, I don't know. Maybe that's another Shallan chapter, but I don't really understand the reference as far as the chapter goes. I'm sure it'll be in there somewhere. It's like Jurassic Park. They said the title of the movie. It'll be in there. But anyway, where are we going, man? Like I said, chapter 4 being a wedding was not what I was expecting. So I'm like thrown for a loop just from that. I have no idea what's next. I would assume some kind of preparation for the big bad, but we're really early in the book, so we might just be getting a lot of like, these are where our characters are right now, and these are the kind of things that they're kind of dealing with internally about what's going on in the world. Because we've kind of got that perspective from Dalinar so far, like a lot of internal monologue and a lot of like, what are we going to do? What am I doing? Who am I? We've gotten a lot of that kind of stuff. And then Kaladin's going back home, seeing his parents. We're kind of getting similar things from Kaladin, like internal monologue, like what's going on? What do we do now? And so maybe that's what we'll get more of immediately, is like from Shallan, from Adolin, from all of the people in the gang, is we're just going to get a lot of like, okay, who am I now? What am I now? What are we doing? What should I be doing? Because Shallan especially had a very big revelation at the end of the book. Like, she knew that she had done it, but she hadn't admitted it. And so we kind of have that she's dealing with. She kind of had to deal with it real fast in the moment, but she did deal with it. And so now we're kind of in this situation of like, what's the aftermath of getting settled in Urithiru going to be? Is she just studying her ass off everything that's in the tower, or is she kind of having some more to herself time and thinking through things? So a lot of different possibilities, but I think it would be a safe bet that if there is Shallan stuff, that it's going to be kind of more internal, character-driven, like conversations, like, what do I do now? What are we doing?
I guess we really are. I mean, you guys mentioned it already, but we are still in that whole setting up phase here. And maybe it was a little different in the last book, because we did have some of that setting up phase, but things had changed for people a lot at the end of book 1 and into the beginning of book 2, so that maybe the setting up didn't feel as obvious as it is here. Because like Kaladin was just learning his new job as a guard. Shallan and Yasna were on their way to the Shattered Plains and had finally left Kharbranth, where they were for the whole first book. So a lot of different things. But that's fair. You guys, A Powerful Lie, you both said sounds like a Shallan chapter, and I have to agree. That does seem like a Shallan sort of. That sounds like Pattern says something there. So can't even debate what that sounds like. I haven't looked, but I'm also just assuming that that's the case.
Yeah, I don't really have too much in the way of the chapters. Yeah, I mean, Powerful Lie, Shallan. I'm not going to rehash that. That sounds plausible. Watch at the Rim, I agree with Dak. I think that's got to be up in Urithiru, so it's going to be one of our characters that's up there. Do we have Adolin's viewpoint in this section as well, or is that?
Let me see. Yes, Adolin was one of the characters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it could be Adolin. I mean, obviously we've left off with him in a bit of a predicament. I mean, like, he's not suspected, but I'm really keen to get inside his head and see how the panic may be turning in there, or how he's going to spin it if he's found out. I can't imagine that's going to be a particularly fun time for him. So possibly, he's right on the edge of something terrible happening. Maybe could be his point of view. Threads of a Screw, I've got no idea. of which particular chapter that will be. Overall, I think that, I don't know. I don't really have much where everything's going. I like to see that Kaladin will reveal his true powers in a spectacular fashion that would really just shut Roshone down. I suspect that Kaladin will find out that Sadeas is dead through that channel. If they're effectively going to write to Sadeas. I mean, Sadeas is not the person that they would want to write to about a character reference for Kaladin, even if Sadeas was alive. You know, Kaladin's going to have to give some references, but he's also wearing a Colon army uniform, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So they're going to see that it's not Sadeas's army anyway. Yeah. So I don't know. They're going to have to figure out. Yeah, maybe soon. It may not be soon. I would like to see that he's able to get his parents out, but I agree. I don't think they're going to go willingly. There's obviously a bit of the story here that they need to work through as well. It'd be good to find out what happened to the Parshman. I feel like we probably won't see that mystery for a little while as well. I don't know. It's very, very early days to be starting to make predictions about what's happening here.
It's true.
I don't really have anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, all we know about the Parshman is that the place where they were living or whatever out back had a big hole broken out of it. So, and apparently they didn't kill everyone in town. They left. So yeah, like that's not much information to be going on with.
No, and look, if they're gone, if they're truly gone, I imagine the Parshmen are all gonna probably end up back together. Like perhaps they're just getting out of wherever they are and going, so we won't see their. We probably won't. Oh, okay. I don't think we're going to see the true thing of what's going on with the Parshmen. Maybe even in this book. You know, we're talking about the titles of the books and stuff. Maybe once we get to Rhythm of War, they're tuning to the rhythm of something. You know, so maybe that's got more context for the Parshmen or the remaining Parshendi or. Whatever's sort of going on there. So maybe we won't see. I expect that we'll probably see them gathering in this book or making their way. We might get sort of hints and bits and pieces or minor conflicts, but I don't think we're going to get a big conflict.
Okay.
She says at chapter 6 of Jared.
There's a lot of books. There's got to be some kind of conflict. Whether or not it's a big one, that's a fair point. We don't know yet. I'm trying to. I guess we had a fairly big battle at the end of the last book. So I was going to say, have we not had anything like really big? We kind of had a pretty big battle.
No, but it was kind of like 2 books in the making.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we're getting a major conflict at the end of every single book. There's going to be a conflict of some form in every stage of the book, but whether that's our major conflict of this book or it's a couple of books time or I don't know.
Okay. So we might spend some time dancing around it with book 3. All right, I can see that. Everybody's got to get prepared. We're all finding ourselves on new territory at the beginning of this book. So
true.
Fair enough. All right then, let's move into some other things. We have one new patron this week, and we have some emails. And let me see, was there a review with either of these emails? We do have a review also, so I guess get your lists ready, Joe.
Got it.
Oh, hold on. This one is going to require me. I meant to do this research before we started this record because this person mentions something that you guys said in episode 74. So I need to go back and listen to this. He puts in the time code, so it shouldn't be too hard to find.
74. Holy smokes.
What book was that?
A long time ago.
That was Elantris.
That would have been
14 and
Elantris.
15. Yeah. 20 minutes and 25 seconds. Let me see.
I guessed and was right. Just based on episode number.
Wasn't sure if it was Hero of Ages or could have even been Secret History.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Yep, found it now. It actually is a Joe was right.
Ooh.
So
was I right?
Let's actually read the email. So this one is from Bradley, and Bradley's email. This is from January that Bradley sent this email, and I could not read it anytime before now because, well, you'll see. It says, "Hi again, Data. I'm re-listening to all the episodes, and I got to a prediction that I've missed the first time in episode 74 at 20 minutes and 25 seconds. Did they just predict shard blades? I'm in awe of your ability not to give anything away reacting to these crazy predictions. So, the prediction that Bradley is referencing is Joe. Joe says, it's a middle episode. He's like, mid-show prediction, Elantrians learn how to use their magic and somehow turn the Seons into sweet-ass spirit weapons.
Whoa. Did I really say that?
Yes.
That's cool. Yeah, didn't know, definitely didn't know anything about shard blades, because when we were doing Elantris, the first time I'd seen, which at the time I'll say I did not know anything about shard blades. I just saw giant swords. When we went to the convention was after we read Elantris, and I saw giant swords at the convention. Had no idea what they were in reference to. Did not know anything about shard blades. Definitely didn't know that they were made from spren. Didn't know what a spren was. So yeah, that is just a thing that popped out of my mouth that ended up being related in some way to the Sanderson universe.
Yeah.
Your wording is even more apt than you realize, because you don't specifically say sweet ass swords, you say sweet ass weapons, and we know from the end of the last book that Syl can turn into a spear rather than a blade.
Whoa.
And a
now
shield
you're-
even at
wow.
one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are really blowing my mind. Also, I mean, there's no spren involved, but just that, what you just said, made me think of Final Fantasy 15, because in that the character can just summon like basically spirit weapons, and their shield, swords, spears, whatever you want.
Eat.
Yeah. Fun when it came out. Went back to replay it. The combat is not good.
I just rewatched the other day because I stumbled across it again. Was the Spoony review of Final Fantasy X?
Oh,
which
yeah.
is hilarious and real old
Oh,
at this
it's great.
point. But
Yeah.
But looking at the combat in that, that's I like the combat in that game. So
Yeah, it's like pure turn-based almost. You
Yep.
can like upgrade your turn, but like you'll know when people go in turn. I did really like that. It's like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I've got this person going next. I can sub out these people. It was super fun.
the sphere grid, not the greatest thing ever, but the combat was fun.
Yeah, better than Final Fantasy IX's upgrade system with accessories. I did not like that.
I'm actually okay with that one. What I didn't like is Final Fantasy VIII's junctioning of magic to everything.
No, yeah, having a number magic stat and just drawing magic continuously, or like refining items,
refining
it's
cards,
like, it's a whole weird magic system inventory / management, and you never want to use any of your magic because it gives you good stats. So it's
exactly.
like, what's the
It'll
point
bring
of
down your
having
stats if you use your magic? Yeah.
Yeah, so like, what would be the point of having the magic? If I ever used magic in that game, it was whatever the boss or enemy had, I drew it and immediately cast it. But doing that was a double-edged sword, because when you drew magic from an enemy, you weren't guaranteed your stats weren't guaranteed on the magic cast. So yeah, Final Fantasy VIII, it's a weird game. If you enjoy it for the story, great, but the combat system is meh.
And then you got to talk, shout out to X2 and the dress spheres.
Oh man,
that was.
If you want some wild, crazy fan service, that game's got it.
Oh man, I'm one of the few people who actually enjoy X2 because I love Yuna and hate Titus. So
yeah,
screw that guy.
X2 wasn't bad. I think the dress sphere thing actually was a really cool idea. I don't know that the execution was great.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Anyway, sorry, y'all. That was
our Final Fantasy VII minute.
The email's not even about Final Fantasy, and we didn't mention Final Fantasy VII. So
that's true.
But it's funny because Bradley resent or sent me a new email off of that one this week to be like, hey, now that you guys have gotten to the point in the show where the Shard Blades are Spren has been revealed, you can talk about this. So thank you for reminding me, Bradley. That was awesome. The other one that we have this week is from Pedro. And it's called A Good Punch. Hi, guys. This is Pedro from Brazil. You can call me Peter. Long-time listener, first-time emailing. First of all, thank you for all the good hours of fun you've given me. You all do an amazing job here. Now, a while back, the YouTube channel Exploring the Cosmere did a poll to decide who is the more punchable Cosmere character. And the moment I saw that, I began wondering what your answer would be. No, this is not necessarily the most evil character or the one you dislike the most. Just the one that you would love to give a good punch in the face. For me, it's Moash, who, by the way, was the winner of the poll. I could bet that Dak might answer the same thing. So what do you guys think? Who's the most punchable character that we've met?
Prepare to have your mind blown, but I think I said the same thing last week. But like someone sent an email like, I predict Dak's going to say this, and I go, you know what? No, Rishon. Once again, like look, my opinion on Moash is well known, but I think Rishon is worse.
And we just got to see him get punched in the face, and it was so satisfying.
And it was so good.
Yeah. Nice punch to the face. Nice bile drive to the face. You know, if we're going whole Cosmere, I'm gonna stick with my no likey spook. I think that kid needs a good punch to the face.
That one I predicted. So yeah, okay.
Now, would you do it when he's the scrappy kid or when he's king?
Both.
I was about to say, just maybe every day, somewhere along the way.
Yeah. As soon as he starts talking that street slang, just nice punch to the face.
I Imperial.
It's like you punch
don't
him
call
one-
it that, Jamie. That's it's gonna give me
It's like-
it's gonna give me a hemorrhoid.
It's like you punch him once as a kid, and then years and years and years later, when he's king and feeling secure, then you pop up and go, "Remember me!"
Yeah, it's like How I Met Your Mother with like the slaps over like 3 years or whatever.
Oh yeah. The slaps. Good through line.
Yeah, like my first instinct was Spook. Actually, he's probably not my most hated character, but the way he speaks, and then the fact that he was like Emperor, King, or whatever he was, and then still spoke like that. Ugh, so annoying. He deserves a good punch in the face.
Nice.
He's definitely not the worst character or the most evil character or anything like that. But yeah, I think he probably wins most punchable.
Yeah, I've just figured it out. Like that's something that collectively ticks us all off when someone unexpectedly becomes king on Scadrial. Because when Ellen got it at the end of Final Empire, we're just gone, oh really? and then Spook got it, we're just gone, fucking really?
Yeah.
Rather Ellen over.
What about
Spook.
you?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. What about you, Data? Is there a character that we've read about so far that you would argue is the most punchable?
I was before Dak said it, I was thinking Rishon. It's just so satisfying, that scene where he gets punched in the face. And after he said it, I'm like, I gotta come up with somebody else. Let me see if I can think of somebody else. I don't know. That's I might just have to go with Rishon. There's a character in a book we haven't read yet that I am tempted to say, but I'm not going to do that. So we'll go with Rishon for now.
Can we know which book, or is that a spoiler?
I was thinking of a character from Tress of the Emerald Sea. I will say that.
Ooh, neat.
Ooh, there's punchable people in Trust of the Emerald Sea, huh? Okay. I mean, I guess every book has to have somebody who's punchable.
Yeah, that's true.
The only reason none of us said Sedaeus is because we know he's dead.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Strath Venture is very punchable.
Yeah, you know,
No,
Zane's also pretty punchable.
I would say Straff is more stabbable.
Yeah, that's fair. You know who needs a good punch in the face is the Citizen from the Hero of Ages. That guy, I really didn't like that guy.
Yeah,
Who's
that
the
guy
Citizen
did
again?
suck.
He's
the guy who's like in charge of that city that
of Urto, where Spook and Says and them were.
Yeah.
Oh, that asshole.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Pedro/Peter sent us a screenshot of his 5-star Spotify review. So.
Oh man, Pedro/Peter, that's awesome. We appreciate you for doing that. You, my friend, are a thug. Ham would be proud.
Nice. Thank you guys for the emails. This is the first time in actually a long while that our email box is clear. We've read them all. So if anyone else would like to send us an email, I know, right? If anyone else would like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram and Blue Sky and Patreon, where we have one new patron this week. So let's bring that up.
New patron.
At the Ska level, we have Lance.
Lance, you get to be a steel runner, Lance.
Ooh,
Enjoy.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So thank you. If I just realized as we're recording this that it's been a couple of weeks. We ran out of Wind and Truth episodes, and I haven't had one go up in a bit. I need to do that. The problem is that it'll be a week that I finish editing the regular episode early, and I'll be like, I have time, and I'll edit like a big chunk of Wind and Truth episodes, and then just set them to upload once a week, and then I'll not think about it for weeks and then not realize when they run out. So that is what has happened. I did not realize we had run out until I was looking at it just now, so I need to edit some more of those. But assuming that I get those edited, then you can listen to more of me reading through Wind and Truth for the first time and reacting to that. The most recent one, as of this record, was chapter 71 through 73. So clearly, there's a lot of those on Patreon if you want to check those out, as well as other fun things. So, if you're interested in that, join the Patreon. Check that stuff out. So thank you, patrons. You guys are awesome. Emailers, thank you, people on the Discord. And thank you to everyone just showing up every week, listening to us talk about these chapters. It is a lot of fun, and I appreciate having you guys listen to it. So remember, we are doing 3 more chapters for next week. That's chapter 7, 8, and 9. If you're reading along, read those. We're going to do the week after that is 2, but for the whole first part of this book, 3 chapters is most of the weeks. So largely 3s. But anyway, so following along, that's what we're doing for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound and Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Haha, I'm Sil.
Corona's wide, supernovas die, fractured in the fateful fall of man. Feel the heart raging of a strength unseen. Unity will bring the upper hand. So look to the break of dawn.